Hello everybody! In this video we are going to explore Abstrung starter snapshots from our Randomizer series libraries version 1.2. Since the release of Vesper 1.0, we have made this claim that this kind of library doesn't need presets because of the way of the randomization engine works. And we still believe that. So what's the purpose of these starter snapshots? These are basically not presets. They are starting points for the users to build their own sounds and configurations. Now, with the addition of step effects, Arpeggiator, Convolvers, etc., this instrument has become pretty deep. So we thought we should create a bunch of examples that showcase some of the possibilities, some of the things that Vesper, Abstrung and Airchord can do. And also, these are not even all the possible configurations, as I'm sure you will be able to find many other ways of using these libraries. Having said that, let's explore Abstrung starter snapshots. They are all in alphabetical order, not in order of complexity, even though for a moment we jump to the simplest as a start, but then we will go straight from the first one to the last one in the list. So let's begin. I've got here simple start. This one is a very simple patch. It's got two sound sources, a cantele and a multi-zither, and a little bit of reverb is added to it. We can, for example, change the scale, like a pentatonic scale. At this point, it doesn't really matter what I am playing on the keyboard because every note is kind of quantized inside C major, A minor pentatonic. I can also do something like this. Let's also explore something a little bit more exotic, something like this. Okay, now we go back to snapshot number one. One thing to remember is that when we switch from one snapshot to the next, it's always best to wait that there is no note playing in the background because there might be some effects switching on and off when the snapshot is changing, so it might cause some kind of weird noises. So let's wait a bit and then load the next snapshot. Alternating layers. Well, it would be probably better alternating, but we just coined these new words, alternating. You can see that in this snapshot, the two sound sources are alternating. So they're playing kind of randomly, one after the other. This actually reminds me that we could play this sequencer part in a slightly different way. Instead of basically playing all the notes at the same time like this, and then let the sequencer work, we could play them in a more like, or this kind of ungrouped way and see what the sequencer effect adds to it. And also, this reminds me that since I am playing within the scale of C major, but my root note is a D, I'm creating this kind of Dorian kind of sound, not a straightforward C major. And you can still hear in the background some crystals going around. Okay, next snapshot. Arpeggiator about the split point. So that means that my split point at the moment is around this F sharp here. So I have this arpeggiator here on my right hand. So I can play melodies or chords with my left hand, and then with my right hand I can just keep the arpeggiator going. Arpeggiator below the split point. But this time we have a kind of pad on the right side of the keyboard. Next one. This one is arpeggiator below the split point. A simple sound, short sound on the right hand of the keyboard. Okay, let's move on. This is arpeggiator full range. This sound is using the Convolver effect, and there is one Convolver for each layer. And if we switch for a second the Convolver off, put the attack envelope back to 0. This is actually the starting point. But with the Convolvers, that's the resulting sound. Okay, we continue with the Convolvers effect. Now we have the analog effect type. Usually the analog effects work really nicely with short sounds, but as we see in this example, they can also create pads which are not steady in the sound. They kind of have some kind of analog movement to it. The next category of Convolvers, the Manglers. And without the Convolver. Convolvers on layer B reversed. So basically the layer B has been reversed, as you can see by looking at this symbol over here. And also this layer is processed through the ambient one Convolver effect. But this just for layer B, because layer A is playing actually straightforward. But we reduce the attack. Actually, the attack is very slow. And so we obtain this kind of pad. But if we switch off both the Convolvers, put the reverse sound back to straight sound, and put the attack to 0, we see that actually the starting point is this. Crystals as cloud. And this sound, we see that the crystals generator is using this kind of cloud type called cloudy, and basically all the repetitions of the crystals are kind of blurred. If we put the grain towards the max, we can kind of hear all the repetitions more clearly. Back to 20%. Creates this kind of cloud all around each note. We could also use the crystal in a random way, so they are not gonna play over each note we play. This snapshot is making use of the step effects. We have layer B, which is being distorted by the step effects engine. But actually, the step sequence is not really creating a very distinct sequence, because if you see, all the steps are kind of, straight. So it gives this kind of distortion effect overall on each note. Plus we have the trace layer also working here. Without the effects, it would be like this. Very different. Layer B reversed and crystals. We can control the starting point of the reverse sound by using the mod wheel. You can see by looking at this volume indicator here that if the mod wheel is towards 0, it takes quite a long time for the reverse sound to manifest. But if we put the mod wheel at around halfway, it kind of starts straight away. So it's a matter of finding the right position according to your music. And the crystals are actually going on and on. This one simply has a reverse sound on the layer B. And it creates this kind of pad underneath the short sound of layer A. We have a similar sound here. But layer B on this one is not reversed, it's just a very long sound. And a very nice echo over the whole patch. We could also make it a little bit more sinister by playing some different key. On this one, we have the crystals playing randomly, as actually as an example before. In this one, both sounds are totally reversed. So it takes a little while before they get to the peak of the sound, but it's quite a very dynamic and suggestive sound. With this one, we have a sequence only above the split point, which is again around this note F here. And also, I think we have the shine effect, adding a bit of shine. Then we have the opposite. I need to be careful not to be carried away by the sounds. And this one instead is featuring the movement effect from the Convolver module. You can just select a few different ones just to see what they do. And also put the dry effect totally. And I guess we have the shine effect on, but no reverb. So this is actually totally what the Convolver effect is doing. And you can feel this left and right pan going around. Next one. Spacey with attack and trails. The trace layer here is playing at 80% probability, and over velocity 36. If we put the volume up, you can really tell when it's playing. Next one. This is a kind of complex sound. We have crystals on. We have step effects going on. The filter cutoff, resonance and distortion for layer A, plus layer B is playing in reverse. Step sequencer and arpeggiator play low notes. So basically, I can just choose 3 notes here. So since the arpeggiator is actually playing with 1 octave jump as well, and I'm playing a G, D, another G, the notes can reach easily the end of the range of the keyboard. So we can actually use that to our advantage, doing something like this. So basically, when I'm playing the high G, the arpeggiator is pushing the notes outside the range, so we have some gaps. But this can turn out nicely if we do. It's quite funny. This is working because the arpeggiator is doing this kind of movement every quarter note, and the sequencer is being triggered by the arpeggiator. On each note, the sequencer is doing just this. But if we trigger with the arpeggiator each note every quarter note, actually the phrase doesn't really get till the end, unless we make it much faster than that, like 32s. And let's see. Step sequence A and arpeggiator. So we have the step sequence on the left side of the keyboard. And an arpeggiator on the right hand. And the crystals in the background, so the full sound is like this. Step sequencer as a delay. So basically, if we take a look at the sequence, we have a very sparse sequence here going on. So when we play one note, the notes that are triggered by the sequencer sound more like delayed notes. definitely got carried away there, but next one. Wide panning. That simply is showcasing that we can have low notes on the left side and high notes on the right side, and this is because the panning is in wide mode. We can just put it back to default or go to random mode. Therefore, every note will be panned randomly. And that was the last one of our starter snapshots. So please watch all the other videos to learn about all the other features in this series. Thank you for watching. Bye.